Hey there, welcome to the pastor's office. It's overtime with Pastor Brian, and we're just kind of recap and go over Sunday's message and those, what didn't get in the message, kind of the leftovers here. And last Sunday we talked about the big question was, why are Christians so weird? I talked about how the first church I pastored many years ago, back when I was a young pastor, they talked about having a pounding for the pastor, which was terrifying. And it turns out it's an old timey term. They're trying to be nice to me and, kind of just bring me a bunch of food things. But churches, they get a little weird, and it's okay to be a little bit weird. You get this Christian culture within the church and ways to talk, and that's fine. And it's okay to be weird because we're supposed to be different than the rest of the world. The problems come when we are weird, yet we become hypocritical about things, where we say something and we do something else. We present to the world, hey, we're Christians, we're following God, we're moral people, and then we aren't. And so that's the big problem place when it comes to being, a little bit weird and different from the world. There a while ago, there used to be these gospel tracts. They're still around a little bit, but it used to be quite the thing, where it would just be a couple pages long, a little pamphlet thing that you hand to people and tell them about Jesus. Now, some of those were really good. The old, Four Spiritual Laws from Campus Crusade, Billy Graham's Steps to Peace with God, good stuff. But then there's all kinds of weird little things. And there was one that would go around, and it looked on the front, it looked like $100 bill. And then you turn it around and it tells you, hey, you need Jesus, and here's a verse, and ask Jesus into your life. And the problem is that weird Christians were leaving those as a tip at a restaurant. And so they'd walk out, they'd leave, and there's, it looks like $100 bill from a distance, and then you get closer, and then, then they didn't leave a tip. They left this gospel tract thinking that, getting Jesus is worth more than a tip. And I've heard of Christians that do things like this. They leave a Christian or a gospel tract instead of a tip. My dad, he said to me, if you're in a restaurant and if you pray before your meal, you better leave a good tip. If you make a point of praying before your meal and people see that, you need to make sure that you also leave a good testimony by leaving a good tip too. We're fascinated with what's going on in Ukraine. It's tragic. I talked with a woman last week who lived in Ukraine, grew up in Ukraine, went to college in Ukraine. She's been here in the States for a while, and talked about her sister trying as a refugee leaving Ukraine and in Poland and things. It's tragic. It's heartbreaking. And we see this on the news. We see that this war in Ukraine, it's not just a war with professional soldiers. It is a crisis situation. And so everybody is pitching in there in Ukraine. And you see these stories of everybody pitching in and people just volunteering and to defend their country. It is incredibly inspiring to see this. And so let's think about that for a moment as it relates to the church. You see, as Christians, there's too often we kind of sit back and we let the pastors do the work because they're the professionals. But I'll tell you, folks, we got a crisis situation here. This world desperately needs Jesus. It is a crisis situation. It's all hands on deck. And everybody is from the very beginning, Jesus called everybody to ministry. So there's no standing on the sidelines. And what I stressed Sunday was the greatest barrier to people becoming Christians is Christians. And so we need to make sure that we are not the reason somebody that does not come to Jesus. It's too easy for us to kind of fall into some patterns and just realize that we are an example to people in this world. And we don't want to be the reason that somebody says no to Jesus. Because the world doesn't know God, doesn't know Jesus, but they can know us. And if we're to introduce people to Jesus Christ, we need to be doing our best to do that. And like I say, Christians are kind of weird. They say weird things, and it's okay to be a little bit weird because the world is supposed to be different. The church is supposed to be different than the rest of the world, but we dare not be weird and off-putting and keeping people away from Jesus. We got the greatest message the world has ever seen, and this message of the gospel. And so we want to make sure that we share that with as many people as possible. Hey, thanks for joining me. And let's see, this coming Sunday, what are we talking about? We're talking about how God is so mean. We're talking about the series on doubt, and a lot of people have doubts about the Bible and about God because they look at the Bible and they say, why is God so mean? And sometimes they try to divide out, well, Jesus is the nice one and God is the mean one. And Jesus is, he seems more like he's wearing sandals and playing with kids and probably playing hacky sack or whatever, but God is the mean one. And so we're going to take a look at that because people have doubts about faith, about God, about Christianity, because occasionally they just look on the surface at the stories of the Bible and boy, this guy sounds pretty mean. So we're going to take a look at that this coming Sunday. Hey, Lord bless you. Have a great week. Bye-bye.